here on the bottom. All right, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to throw this formula out there to you, and then we'll see how to use this thing and where it came from. So the distance formula is this. Distance is equal to the square root of x sub 2 minus x sub 1 squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 squared. Alright, so y'all have seen this before. Is this an incorrect assumption on my part?
No, we've seen this.
Some of you have seen it, some of you have not. Okay, so this is what this is. This is what we're going to do with this formula. First off, I'm going to show you where this came from. You've seen this in some form or fashion, and you can actually even already do this. You just don't maybe realize that you can. All right. So I'm going to do this. We're going to look at a number line and see if we can figure out where this is coming from. All right. So if I've got some numbers here, and we'll say this is, I don't know, we'll start with 4 and this 5. Alright, so there's 4 and 10. How far apart are 4 and 10? How many units are 4 and 10 apart? 6. Alright, so you've got a couple of different routes you can go. You can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or you can go 10 minus 4, and that'll give you 6 as well, right? So 10 minus 4 is equal to 6. All right, so remember that particular thing that we just did. Since this is the horizontal direction, I'm going to say that these are my x values, right? So this is my first x value, and this is my second x value. And all that I did was x2 minus x1. Okay? So hopefully that looks a little bit familiar from this. Okay. The reason why I'm showing you this, how this, where this is coming from, is because I always understood things a little bit better after somebody explained, hey, this is where this is how you can figure out what's going on here, instead of me just spitting the formula out and saying, here, use it, right? So that always helped me a little bit. So we said this was my x values, okay? So what if I did vertical y? That's going to be my what values? Y, okay? So this is 3, and then we'll say this is 7. So 3 and 7 are how far apart? 4 units apart, all right? So what did we do? This is y1, and then this is y2. So all I did with this was y2 minus y1. This subscript is just indicating that you've got 2 different y values to work with. If you had a y3, then you would have 3. Okay? So what if some crazy French mathematician and philosopher named Rene Descartes took and put these together? Your x and y axis. Anybody know what this like formal name for this is? Coordinate plane, or the Cartesian coordinate system. Okay, so the mathematician that actually married algebra and geometry together was Rene Descartes. So somebody, actually I'm going to do one of these examples here. So if I've got a point, negative 5, 3. Okay, so remember this is the negative direction, this is the positive direction. Here's my origin, so we're going to go to the left, negative 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're going to go up on the y-axis 3. So 1, 2, 3. All right, so there's my point, negative 5, 3. My other point is going to be negative 2, negative 3. Negative 2, negative 3. All right, so I want to find the distance between this point and this point. Okay, so what is the difference between the x values? With the x values, how far apart are they? I've got negative 5 and negative 2, so they are how many units apart? 3. All right, so let's do this. All right, so they're 3 units apart. Now, how far apart are they on the y-axis? 6. So they are 6 units apart. Now, look what I'm getting ready to draw here, y'all. Whenever we travel, we don't go from this direction to this direction if we can help it, right? The quickest way to get to some point is a straight line. So if we walked to these points in a straight line, we would have this. So what kind of figure have I just drawn? It's a triangle. What formula do you all already know that gives you the missing side of a triangle? Pythagorean theorem. Okay. So the Pythagorean theorem says what? Anybody remember it? A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. All right. So now, this is the side of my triangle, this is the other side, and this is my hypotenuse, correct? So A and B are sides, and C is my hypotenuse. So if I want to find this distance, I'm going to do 3 squared plus 6 squared is equal to C squared. So what does that end up giving us here? 9 plus 36 equals C squared. So 45 is equal to C squared, and then C is equal to the square root of 45, okay, which is approximately 6.7 units. So the distance from here to here is around 6.7, okay? So all that your distance formula is doing, this is combining the entire process of finding the distance between your x values, the distance between your y values, squaring them, summing them up, and then taking the square root. That is the Pythagorean theorem in a nutshell. Anybody got any questions on that? All right, so that's actually the very first example that was on your page here, if you want to copy that down. And we will, let's look at it another way. That was a little bit of work to do that. So -5, 3, and then -2, -3. If I want to use this distance formula, this is what we'll end up having to do. -2 minus -5 squared plus -3 minus 3 squared. And we can simplify down from there. So we're going to end up having 36 plus 9 square root of 45 around 6.7. Alright, so which way did you like the best? You don't have to do the first way that I showed you, like verbatim or anything like that. I was just trying to show you where that came from and how this formula came to be. Feel free to just label these if you need to. This is how I did it when I started out doing them: x1, y1, and then x2, y2, and then I just straight up followed this formula. Put my x2 right here, x1 there, and then just did the math. So let's do number 2 here, and we'll follow just that formula there. All right. So I'm going to call this x1, that y1, x2, y2. Alright, so I need x2 minus x1, so I'm going to do 3 minus negative 4, close my parentheses, square it, and then we're going to add negative 1 minus 1, and then we're going to square it. So simplifying this down kind of quick, we end up getting 4 plus 49 and that ends up simplifying to the square root of 53, and that is around 7.3. Make sense? Alright. You all do number 3 to get you a little bit of practice with it there.